Welcome back to our Big Brother 23 rankings. I'm here with Dazed and the Derek X Stan herself, Meg. How are y'all?
I thought I was good, but recently learning that Derek X's HOH is kind of a mess has me a little confused.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a mess. He's just, from a Big Brother standpoint, I don't think he is going about his HOH the right way.
It's not even that anymore. I think he's just doing too much.
Oh, is he done way too much in the past couple hours?
Just in the past hour after noms. But we'll get to it, I guess. I mean, at least it's going to be a messy week, that's for sure.
It's always exciting.
Like, week one messy?
Probably not that messy. But... All right, we'll start with number 12. Still in last place is Brittany. 1.8, so she went down to 0.1. And she's on the block again, although handling it a lot better. One thing Derek X has done well is have actual good communication with Brittany, I guess. So,
I mean, when Derek X talks to you, do you ever think he's lying? So if he's telling her that she's safe, she's got to believe him. But I don't want to be on the block.
You don't ever want to be on the block, but I feel like at this point, that's her role now. She is the pawn. So this isn't, if she doesn't go home this week, this is not the last time she's going to be in this position.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, is there anything she could do to not be seen as the perma pawn anymore?
She's got to win something. She's got to do something.
Well, she talks herself. Go ahead.
I think she can't just simply placate everybody. Like, she has to, although it's hurting Sarah Beth at the moment, I feel she needs to pick something and stick with it and just go after it. Like, she's just trying to please everybody right now, and that's how you end up on the block.
Yeah. I even think winning something might not even really save her from being.
I mean, it might just make her the target. If she wins HOH.
It would make her go from pawn to target.
Maybe. I'm not surprised that Derek put her up, though. I mean, there was 2 people that he could have chosen from that he wasn't in an alliance with. Brittany being one of them. So I'm really not surprised that she's up there.
No, he could have just put up Christian and Alyssa.
Yeah, but they're all in the Royal Flush. So is that still a thing now that the teams are gone?
I mean, that's his target.
And he still put up Sarah Beth, who's also in the Royal Flush.
Yeah, but she's kind of she's the pawn of the Royal Flush. You know, she's the bottom of that barrel.
Just, Brittany, you keep saying you're going to go out there and rah, and win a comp. You know, let's see it. You know, you can't cry anymore being on the block when you're not doing anything to keep yourself off the block.
Yeah, true. Exactly.
Well, Sarah Beth is number 11, 2.9, down 3 spots, down 1.7.
Yeah.
You all finally figured out what she was doing, and it's a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, she stepped up this past week and started, going after somebody instead of just sitting back. The only thing is
she didn't need to.
Oh, I know she didn't. She pushed way, way, way too hard for a target when she didn't need to, and it just made her look bad.
Yeah, I mean, going into this morning, it seemed like if Derek X could not get Christian out, then he would want to get Sarah Beth out because that's what him and Tiffany were discussing for a lot of the past week. So, yeah, I mean, if it stays the same, I assume he's going to want Sarah Beth out. But then just a little while ago, Derek X kind of let Sarah Beth in on the plan a little too much, so who knows?
I mean, she's not wrong. You have to get Hannah out. Hannah is one of those players that is super intelligent and analytical that's going to get far in the game if you give them the opportunity. The only issue is that Hannah wasn't coming after her, and being as vocal as she was about making Hannah the target now has Hannah coming after her. So
There's
it's
a lot of
just
people coming after her.
the right thing to do, just the wrong time to do it.
Well, and if you want to have a target that you feel like is a strong play, I mean, I think Sarah Beth's assessment of Hannah is correct, but the way she went about it is wrong. And if you want to have a target that doesn't really seem to be a ton of other people's targets, then you need to be having those kind of sly conversations where you're laying the groundwork for that. You don't just like gung-ho come into the game wanting to be a floater, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere you're hard pressed to get this person out, but then you don't have the competitions and the wins to back that up. If you want to get somebody out, go win an HOH and get them out. You can't depend on your 8-person alliance when they're obviously not into that plan. I mean, you don't push that too far when they're with everybody else in your alliance is not.
Yeah,
on
I
board.
think she also just had a bad read on her position because she doesn't really have all that much support, clearly.
No, she has Kylan, who
That's
is
about
in the big alliance in the house.
Yeah,
That Hannah is also in.
I can
Yes.
see where she's coming from. I don't disagree with what she wants to happen, but she's not going about it in the best way.
She did.
Yeah, and just looking back, you know, she said she wanted to play the rat floater game, and she just doesn't have, how do I put this? She doesn't have the skill to, like you said, slyly make a target. Like what Tiffany did to Sarah Beth when Tiffany was talking to Hannah, that's how you go about making a target on somebody. And she doesn't possess that skill.
Well, we've
Or at
talked
least it
about how
doesn't
being
feel
a floater in this game is a strategy that you can play, and it can be a strategy that can get you far if at the end of the game then you pick it up and you do something to build your resume. But that's a skilled strategy to play, and she's just not at that level.
Being a floater is not an aggressive game. Like when you're trying to paint a target on somebody, you can't just come out and be super open with it. You have to be clever with the way you paint the target on somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Number 10 is Alyssa with a 4.0, up 1 spot, the same exact score as last week. A lot of people actually had the same score as last week. Alyssa's one of them.
She's, you know, that she's not playing a great game, at least strategically, but her social game is kind of good. I mean, she's connected with people. She has Christian as a big ass meat shield for her. She's in good with Xavier, who I think is probably in the best position in the house. Nobody really dislikes her. I think they do see her connected to Christian, and she's a target by proxy. But other than that, I mean, if one of those two go, like say Derek X does what he should do and put her and Christian on the block this week, unless Christian gets himself off the block, she's safe.
I did put her up a half a point higher than I had scored her last week, and that's solely because I think I saw her brain working a little bit more this week. She was asking questions when in conversations with alliances of Christian, like, why not this person? You know, have you thought about this? What about this scenario? She does seem to be the brains behind their duo, but she's still attached to him, which does not put her in a good spot. So I couldn't really give her too much, but I did give her a little bit for playing a little bit more.
I don't know if I necessarily agree that it puts her in a bad spot or not a good spot. I mean, there's an advantage to having a meat shield like Christian. And like I just said, if they get put up, she's not going to be the one going unless he gets himself out of it. But he's always going first before her. And that's a strategy you can utilize. And to be fair, Christian, I mean, yes, he's a potential target, but that dude can win anything. So he can keep them safe. If she's on the block, he can win veto and pull her down. So
I mean,
it's not
I think
a bad ally to have.
Though, in having a meat shield and being in a showman, the only showmance of the season, you know, I don't think Azza is getting X anytime soon. So likely Christian and Alyssa are the only showmance. But there's a difference there. You can build an alliance and have a good relationship with somebody and not have it be sexual. And the fact that they're in the quote unquote showmance puts a target on her back as well. Yes, he goes first, but I don't think that that's a smart move for her to make.
Derek and Hannah are the example of being together, but not necessarily being a showmance.
Yeah.
Although I would consider it a flirtmance.
And that's fine. I would flirt my way through too, but that doesn't mean that, you don't have to be under the covers.
I mean, if they want to do it, let them do it. I'm not bashing them
Sure.
for it. Get you some, Christian.
No.
Get you some, Alyssa.
Do whatever you want. It has nothing to do with that. But I just think in this situation, it just isn't smart. Last week when you weren't here, we talked about, a lot of other seasons we've seen multiple showmances on the same show, so they're not as big of a target, or there's more targets that are in the same position as you. They're the only ones that have put themselves in this spot, so everybody's going to point at them as the duo that needs to be broken up.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say on Alyssa. I put her the same. I think we all gave her a 4, which is why she's a 4.0. So at least we all agreed on one person.
I mean, I've got several people below Alyssa this week, so which is kind of crazy to think about.
Number 9 is Derek Frazier with the 4.4. He's up 1 spot, but he's also the exact same score as last week. His head's in the game.
I must have put him down because I put him.
Yeah, you put him up. I put him down
higher than I've had him.
I gave him a 2.
Yeah, Dave's had him really low. I think his head's in the game now. He had a great pitch today with Derek X when Derek X was considering putting him as a pawn. I think he was trying to convince Derek X that, if you're going to take a shot, then just take a shot at the showmance and put them both up, which he didn't listen to. But I do feel like he is in the game now.
He's the person you take to the final 2 so you can win the money.
Exactly, but what if he wins in the final 2? If the entire jury is the cookout and he's up there against a non-cookout member, he wins.
Yeah.
I shot him up because I feel like I was rating him actually lower than he should have been, but I think that he is playing a great floater game.
He is, yeah.
Frenchie
fucked him, though. He was so attached to Frenchie, so that's why I think we all had a perception of him at the beginning, but without Frenchie, I do think he's in a good spot.
I can see him being on the block as a pawn and going home just because he can't do any. He's a vote, but he's not going to be able to do anything competition wise to help you out. Remember, was that BB23 Victoria? He's a Victoria right now, and he might get cut out of the final 2, although you do take him so you can win. But somebody pulls a Cody and takes Derek instead of Victoria, he gets shut out of possibly getting a win.
It's possible.
So it can go either way.
He goes home, like even if he is a pawn, and that's kind of what Tiffany was saying when she's going around to the cookout members, like, all right, everybody needs to have their side piece. Well, Derek F, he doesn't need anybody because he doesn't. He's got everybody. He doesn't need anybody.
I think maybe he only goes home if he's like on the block against like Xavier, maybe.
Mm-hmm. It's just, it's tough for me. Like, do I think he can get to the end? Yes. Do I think he could win if the votes go the right way? Yes. But am I enjoying watching him play the game? No. So maybe that part of me went into the score that I gave him. I can't really get behind him as much as I wanted to at the beginning of the season, especially because I thought he was going to cause drama. He's just not giving me anything.
I agree with you. And I think that's why I was voting him so low up until now, is because that's kind of where I was putting it. But now I'm really trying to reframe like people's individual games and their ability to make it to the end and possibly win along with where everybody else is at in the game. And I think in the perfect scenario for him, he could. I think he has a better chance of winning than Sarah Beth or Brittany or Alyssa.
Yeah. Honestly, that's what went into a lot of my scores this week. I had a very hard time with the scores this week. So I kind of just had to go with who I actually think has a shot to win.
It's tough right now because it is getting If people are starting to get messy with their games and shifting where they are in our rankings, and it's kind of difficult to score these folks right now. So unless you're playing a perfect game, I mean, which I don't think anybody is, but
I have a problem with that, all of our top 5, honestly. So it was hard. Number 8 is Ozza with the 4.5, also up 1 spot, also the same exact rating as last week.
All right. What is with Ozza and like the W? I don't want to say names. There's only one person here whose name starts with W, so you're basically saying her name. That really kind of got under my, like, own it.
Brittany started that.
Oh, well,
They had
it's stupid.
They had a little giggle after the fact because Ozza followed up with the W after Brittany said it. So,
well, and the fact that in her goodbye message to Whitney, she said that part of her vote to vote her out was because she had a crush on X and didn't like Whitney all up on him. And if that's really why you're voting people out of Big Brother house, you are playing the wrong game.
That sounds
Love
like
Island
production.
Is on at 9. You can go there.
That sounds like production fed a lot of that to her, and she's just doing what they're telling her to say and do.
She's getting her TV time. That's what she's doing.
Well, again, if that's what you need to do to get TV time on Big Brother, you're on the wrong show.
I went back up on Ozza because I do think she actually has a shot to win. Only because, like I said at the beginning of my live feeds, I was talking about how Ozza is the only one in this game with actual personal connections. And I think it's actually starting to come to fruition because everybody else is gaming so hard or just a lot of game bots. But Ozza actually has personal connections. So, like, if she doesn't make the end, and there's even a half of a bitter jury, she's winning, I think.
She could pull the Jordan from BB11. Jordan was great at building connections with every single person in the house. And although she wasn't a great gamer strategically or even winning comps, people just loved her. I mean, I do think Ozza would have to be sitting next to somebody who left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. But I had her ranked the same as Big D. I gave them both 2s just because there's not a lot of game going on. They are great socially in the house, and people like them, but they've got a lot of work to do just to get to the end and not be drugged there.
You gave Ozza a 2?
Yeah, I mean, and you know, Nick, I think you said something about a lot of people vilifying her. I'm not vilifying her at all. I just don't think she's doing a lot in the game.
Yeah, her game has been a little iffy, like strategy-wise. But I also just feel like she wanted to lay low, so it worked kind of.
Yeah.
And now the Jokers are like not seen as this big threat, so they can kind of play the middle. And she kind of started to. Her and Derek X finally made an actual deal in the house today after waiting for so long, for like 2 to 4 weeks or something. But go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
If she kicks it into a higher gear come jury, and we start seeing a lot more of her, and she says she was just laying low for the first half of the game, then props to her, and I will absolutely move her up. But I want to see her kick when jury rolls around and she starts winning some comps and making moves, and then I would move her up and say absolutely she has a shot of winning this game, because the basis of her game right now is those social connections, and that's going to get her votes. But I just feel there needs to be more to it than that.
Yeah, I agree. Any other thoughts? Number 7, Christian with the 4.6, down 2 spots, down 1.0. I mean, he could go home this week if there is a successful backdoor.
That relies on so much. Like Derek's really taking a chance here. I mean, if so many people want to keep the noms the same, or maybe that was last week. A lot has to go right for Christian to end up on the block. If he doesn't end up on the block, he's killing it right now. I think his HOH was an overall success. He got done what he wanted to get done. And he was already seen as a target. So, I mean, dude can win vetoes, and if you don't get him out this week, he might be HOH again next week.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
with the back door, he might not have the opportunity to play for the veto. So
I mean, I do think production's gonna try to make sure the showman's is safe, though.
sure. There's a few scenarios in which he doesn't win the veto and the veto is used and he's replaced.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're going to get Christian, it has to be through a back door. You don't want him in that veto competition.
Yes, I don't know. It's tough. I don't know. I can see it both ways. But like, is the veto going to be another physical comp this week? You would think not, but who knows? If they're trying to save the showman's, it might be.
I mean, I know that people think he's not smart, but he can, when it comes to challenges and having to figure shit out in challenges, he can do it, and he can do it fast. I'm of the mindset when it comes to Big Brother that if you have a duo or a showmance and you want to take one of them out, you have to put them up together. Worst case scenario is you at least cripple them by taking out their right-hand man or woman. I think there's too much that can go wrong. If you don't put them up and Christian gets picked or Alyssa gets picked for the veto and one of them win, your plan's out the door, and then you have to put somebody up that you didn't want to, and then next week they know that you were coming after them and you're probably going to end up on the block. So
I mean, they should have been on the block. And wouldn't the rest of the house be like, that would be decent noms for, I don't think anybody would really have a big problem with that, right? So
the other kings, I guess.
He wouldn't do that.
He has a chance. He has a chance to not go home this week. There's several different scenarios, and if he doesn't go home, I'm gonna keep him up on the list. I mean, he's my number 2 right now, just because of his ability to win competitions. Huh?
So that's a little high.
What?
Wait, Christian is your number 2?
He's my number 2. Yeah.
Are we watching the same show?
He's one of those that I feel he can get himself out of trouble with the comp, or he can talk his way off the block.
I don't think he talks way off the block. No. He can. I think his only thing is winning competitions, and he's very good at competitions. So I will give him that.
He's leading in the house, right, with comp wins right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Meg, I have Tiffany as the 3.5, so obviously we're not watching the same show. I'm probably the only one who has her that low.
Yeah, even I don't have her that low.
There. You're fucking up our scores, bro.
I mean, it's good to have disagreements. Number 6 is Claire with a 5.3, up 1 spot, up 0.5. I
put her right in the middle out of 5. We're going to discuss her taking the advantage or whatever, and it could have gone either way. Like, still keep at her 5. If she doesn't take it, I mean, it's only 2 weeks of safety until jury.
1 more now, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I can go either way on her. I do think that she might need to separate herself a little bit from Tiffany. I'd like to see her make more connections. But she's in a good spot in the game. Nobody's really targeting her. If she pulls out an HOH win, maybe she can get what she wants done. So yeah, she's playing an okay game.
Yeah, I mean, while I didn't go down on her, I just don't think she should be ahead of Derek, Fraser, Azah, only because she's not in the cookout and she has nothing. So I just feel like Claire's game is like, she has good reads sometimes and she knows the targets, but she still just doesn't do enough. And she has time, I guess, kind of, but does she really have that much more time?
He's got to win HOH next week and take out a cookout member.
I think she would maybe put up Kyle and Xavier, which would be a big move, but I don't know.
I would have liked to see her win this HOH so that she can take out her big target and still have another week of safety, but I get that you can't just pick and choose which HOH you're going to win. So, but I think, Nick, you're giving too much credit to the cohesiveness of the cookout at the moment. Like they're really.
Well, there's no
really-
cohesiveness, but I still think if any of them make the final against a non-cookout member, they're winning the game.
I don't know if the cookout makes it that far. They
I mean,
are
they've
really
already all
starting
made
to
jury.
crack.
Yeah, they only have one more week, and then all of them at least are in jury. And they'll still dominate the vote. They don't need to be cohesive. The great thing about the cookout is that I feel like they're all playing in their individual games. They're all doing their own thing. They're not always getting along, which is great because
nobody suspects
people off. Nobody is going to guess that they're working together, but they all have this loyalty to each other that they know they come first, even if they're getting along or not. The cookout comes first, and I think that's a great alliance to be.
But also, even if there is, I think it's not Azza and Derek F in trouble. It's going to be Tiffany versus Kylan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only way you combat that is to try your best to make sure that there is only one cookout member in the final three.
But nobody knows about the cookout, so how are they going to?
Somebody's going to find out about it. I
mean, maybe when there's two non-cookout members left.
I mean, it's tricky. They have the numbers, but it's still early in the game. Yes, we're almost at jury, but relatively speaking, it's still pretty early. Stuff can go down. I mean, I don't know.
I just don't. I mean, I think stuff can go down, but I think at the end of the day, they still have each other's backs, like alliance-wise.
Any other thoughts on Claire?
Oh yeah, Claire. No, move
on.
Well, number 5 is your boy, Meg. Derek X with a 6.2. Down 3 spots, down 0.6. Meg had him so high, the fangirl that she is, but I was down on him a lot because he fucked up over the last 2 weeks. What he needed to do over the last 2 weeks was play his own game. He's playing Kylan and Tiffany's games. That's what his
Agreed.
problem. And any move he's trying to make this week, it helps one of the cookout members more than it helps him. I mean, Sarah Beth going helps him a little, but Christian going doesn't really help him that much, and Brittany going doesn't help him at all.
I mean, I feel like though, like we're saying, like without people knowing about the cookout, without anybody like having any idea that they exist and what's going on, I mean, I feel like he is in this royal flush mindset, or he has these people out of the royal flush that feels like he has a good bond with, and I think
that's where he fucked up. I think even without the cookout, him being at the bottom of the royal flush, he should have been telling Hannah more information. He should have tried to rally something for himself, but instead he did the opposite. And now Hannah found out about the royal flush because Tiffany slipped up in a conversation with Derek X when Hannah was there. So now Hannah has no trust for Derek X, really. I don't think so. It's a bad couple days for Derek.
I think he can fix that though with a private conversation, and
I think so. I think Hannah's
maybe getting out Sarah Beth, who was coming after Hannah.
Maybe.
This is all ifs and buts, and I just think that if he plays this HOH different, he betters himself. But I don't think he did himself any favors by going this backdoor route. I think he should have just stuck to the targets, put them up. And because like Meg said, I mean, nobody's going to have an issue with you putting up Christian and Alyssa. Just go ahead and put them up. Get yourself back in good favor with all these other folks and be done. I mean, I don't even know if he should have won this HOH.
Yeah, I think it was a mistake. I think a lot of players think the back door is the end all be all, but it could honestly fuck you up too. Mm-hmm. So. And his other thing that he did just a while ago, we're recording this Friday night, so this is right after nominations. So we came up with this plan to have Brittany at the pawn, Sarah Beth up, so that if somehow the noms stay the same, Sarah Beth goes, but he still wants to have one come down to backdoor Christian. But then he talks with Sarah Beth and gives up this information to Sarah Beth. And I still think that's the smartest thing. I mean, now he's thinking, oh, we could work, maybe me, you, Kylan can work something out together. But if noms do happen to stay the same, Because Sarah Beth knows all this information, it could really throw him under the bus.
Oh yeah, she's gonna tell Christian and Alyssa right away. There's no reason for her not to. And then next week, Derek is the target. He's just, I'm gonna cut him some slack because he is very new to Big Brother, but he has learned a lot. I mean, that's one of the reasons he's been one of my favorite players in the game, is because he has been learning on the fly and making great moves. Like, his social game is so much better than it was week 1. But now he's put himself in a situation where he's opened himself up to a lot of risk by the decisions that he makes or could make, and it's gonna, take him back a step or two. He can survive it, and he can, amend some of these things, but he's really took himself back a bit.
Yeah, I feel like he's just in a lose-lose situation right now, for sure.
Don't throw that out into the universe.
What?
Well, he kind of is. He needed what he needed to do. Another reason I went down on him, because a few days ago he was really onto Xavier, and he was noticing how close Tiffany and Hannah were to Xavier. And instead of seeing that as like a threatening thing, he then instead thinks, maybe we could pull Xavier in to work with us. But I think what he needed to do was take a shot at Xavier. Not that it would have worked, probably, unless he put him up against another cookout member, but still.
I was thinking that Xavier should be one of his noms when he first won the competition, but I'm really not surprised to see Brittany up there. Not really surprised to see Sarah Beth. I mean, I don't think it was his best move. Do I think he can come back from it? Yeah. But I think that he could have done better.
There's a lot of damage control that he will have to do if Sarah Beth and Brittany remain on the block.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
I'd like to see what happens when Brittany goes home and she's not there to use as a pawn anymore.
It'll be Azza or Derek F.
You think Azza is a pawn?
I don't know. Oz's social game's so good, she could tell people she wants to be a pawn and they still won't put her.
That's true.
Number 4 is Tiffany, a 6.4, the same spot as last week, the same exact score as last week. I went a little up on Tiffany only because I feel like she has only because I feel like she kind of has an upper hand over Kylan right now.
Your updates would not make me suspect that you would move her up.
I didn't move her up a lot. I just moved her up over Kylan.
I moved her up a half a point.
Yeah, I moved her up a point. I can't go any higher than a 6. I've been at a 5 with her for 2 weeks. I can't go any higher than a 6 because I do still feel like her end game just screams Vanessa Russo get cut at the end, Netta and BB Can 2 get cut at the end, or even something like Josh. I mean, like Paul and Josh or Tyler. She has a hard end game.
I did have her up a point, and then I brought her back down a half a point before I submitted my scores because I really didn't like the little baby temper tantrum she threw about nobody saying good morning to her. And I just don't think, like, why are you starting shit with people over absolutely nothing? You're in a game where at the flip of a dime, you can be the target just because you rub somebody the wrong way. So, like, you need to zip those feelings when stuff like that happens and move on with your life. And I don't like that she can just kind of flip and be a little bit aggressive for no reason. But her whole strategy and going around to all the people at the cookout and like, this is what we have to do. And everybody needs their side person in and like, and she's figured it out. I think she's thinking far ahead in the game. She's thinking a few steps ahead. And I don't think her strategy is bad.
Until it's just the cookout and they say somebody has to go, let's get out this person who has strategized this entire thing and could probably win.
Maybe she manipulates them and talks them into something different.
First off, I thought she's had a messy couple weeks, but what really topped it off for me is that this past week was honestly, in my opinion, Xavier versus Tiffany. And Xavier did a whole hell of a lot better than Tiffany, because Tiffany wanted to get Sarah Beth out and Xavier did not. and he got his way and did it cleanly without ruffling a lot of feathers. Like, he knows when to lay off of something and just glide. So,
I mean, I do think if it comes down to 6, Xavier has the best shot of winning the game if it is the 6 cookout members. Because Tiffany, another mistake of hers was just not keeping up with the relationship with Ozza, and I still don't understand why. So even if it does become the 6, she doesn't have the guys and she doesn't have Ozza. So it's really her and Hannah versus everybody.
I don't think Hannah is her best choice as a final 2 deal.
It's Claire, but it's going to be hard to get to the end with Claire.
Tiffany, when she smells blood, she is laser focused, and I think that's to her detriment. Like, people are going to catch on. You're going to end up being that person's target if you don't get your way. I mean, if Sarah Beth somehow stays this week, and she wins HOH, Tiffany's on the block, 100%. So I think she's been playing like Frenchie the past 2 weeks. I really feel like she has.
I wouldn't go that far.
There's some Frenchie qualities.
Yeah,
especially with her slip up yesterday with the royal flush with Hannah in the room. Yeah, that's not great. She didn't even realize she did it.
I think she feels like she's in control of the house, and maybe it's getting a little too much in her head. Like, kind of like HOH-itis, except she feels she's running the game and ego's getting up there a little bit. And when you feel like you're running it and you're on top of the world, you start to slip up.
Yeah. But she still has the upper hand over Kylan. If Sarah Beth goes home, if Sarah Beth survives and Christian goes home, I don't know if any of them really have the upper hand over the other. But she did convince Derek X that Sarah Beth was the route to go. So,
I mean,
she has minions.
She's got a mist. She's got a Tiffany mist. I'll give her that.
She has the power of persuasion.
She just has to be careful about being too aggressive on the moves that she's trying to make. Have a little bit more subtlety, know when to lay off. I mean, X is a perfect example. Like I said, he knows when to lay off of things, and she's got to do the same, or it's going to get her in trouble.
I mean, I agree, but I feel like that's her personality, and she's been consistent with her personality this whole time. So she's also like kind of aggressive in other areas too, just like I was saying about like the good morning thing. Whereas when you compare it to Sarah Beth is so quiet. She doesn't really do stuff like that. And then all of a sudden she's like very aggressively going after Hannah. It's noticed more.
Yeah.
You know, people might not take as much notice to Tiffany or put as much weight into it because she's kind of like that all the time.
Well, any final thoughts on Tiffany?
Do better.
Number 3 is Kylan. Barely ahead of Tiffany. The 6.5. Same spot in 3rd place, down 0.1.
Yeah. I can't. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, he's a crybaby cancer, but he's in a good spot in the game. He's got the cookout. He's not making enemies, and he got through his HOH, although it could have gone a little bit better, and he's still not anybody's target really, except for maybe Tiffany. But he's in a good spot. I don't have anything to really knock him down on.
I just feel like he also can sometimes do too much. Like, I kind of understand why he would want Sarah Beth and jury. Obviously, it's a vote for him. But I don't know. I don't know if he should die on that hill.
If he tries to die on that hill, it's going to hurt his standing in the house.
He kind of has.
That's the one thing he can't do this week. If Sarah Beth is going home, you got to let her go.
What does she do for him?
She's just a vote and jury at this point because she has no other connections to get him info, really, I guess. Some of the kings.
Get her to jury. That's what she's doing. That's why you have her in your pocket, right? Is for her to vote for you. Send her.
Yeah, he can't this week.
He's not going to go this week, though, to jury. He's got to wait till next week.
Well, any other thoughts on Kylan?
No, that was quick.
Number 2, possibly a little high, but I had her kind of high too. Hannah with a 6.8, up 4 spots, up 1.6.
She did good last week for being on the block. She did really, really good. Actually got to see her traverse a conversation with somebody in power. That conversation between her and Christian, where she was laying little subtle hints that you put my ass up, I have a reason to put you up next time. Like, she did that without really just making it seem like a threat, and that's good to have. Like, she's really good in those types of conversations, and she didn't freak out when she was on the block. She absolutely is one of the most dangerous players in this game. She's now a part of the cookout, which she wasn't initially. She's gotten in good. I mean,
And she has a lot of people fighting for her, at least last week.
I think we're finally seeing her do what we all knew she could do and thought she should do. So she's finally starting to come into where she's at in the game. I think she has a good read on things so far, and I think she's a great player.
I want to see that point where she just goes absolutely cutthroat. I mean, you can already see in her.
Oh, she would cut Derek X in a second.
Yeah, she's gonna make some decisions that America's just like, whoa, and I'm gonna be applauding her the entire time.
Yeah, the one bad side this week is I feel like she's also going to get blowback from Derek X's nominations, because I feel like the Kings just want to think that it's because Derek X wanted to prove to Hannah that is, Sarah Beth should go up or something to that effect. So, I mean, she's going to stay at target. So it's going to become how she maneuvers over these next few weeks.
I love her. Like, she is so unapologetically just mean to people, but in a nice way, just says whatever she thinks, and I love every bit of it.
It's not a bad place for her to use Tiffany as a shield for her either, so I don't think it's the best place for Tiffany to be, but I don't think it's a bad place for Hannah to be.
And it's good that she now knows about the Royal Flush, because now she knows that Derek X and Tiffany do not give her a lot of information, really.
Yeah, the cookout yes, they should have brought Hannah in, but now, like, Tiffany, who really wanted her in, has now become the meat shield for Hannah. And if those two are ever up on the block together, Tiffany goes before Hannah, I think. I think a lot of people go before Hannah at this point.
So is Hannah holding the same animosity against Tiffany for not telling her about the Royal Flush as she is Derek X?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's about 50-50. I don't know. I think she had a conversation with Derek X afterwards too, which I think just made things worse for Derek X, because he likes to tease her maybe a little too much or say things. She acts like, "What do you need from me this week?" And he said, nap or something. And she did not take very well to that.
Put him up. Want to see a Hannah HOH with Tiffany and Derek X on the block?
Maybe in a few weeks. But we'll see. I think Tiffany probably could smooth that over better than Derek X, because Derek X is in a bit of a mess right now with his HOH. Any other thoughts on Hannah?
Is Hannah staying up in the HOH with Derek X?
No, they're not Christian and Alyssa. Number 1 is still Xavier. He actually went up. We gave him 7.4, up 0.5. I don't know if he went up for me, but his strongest quality is he's the only person I see literally putting in jury management. Because he has the Kings on his side, he has the cookout. He definitely has jury management going for him.
I love the way he talks to people. He knows what to say and when or when not to say it.
He's
You
a
just-
lawyer. It's literally his job.
He's a very composed individual, and he's playing smart.
I'm
And
not a fan of his HOH run, but if he can keep himself pretty even for a while, I mean, he doesn't really have to do a whole lot right now. Just keep doing what you're doing.
I mean, the one thing that is getting on my nerves is like the teams are over and he's still all talking about the Kings all the time. Kings, Kings, Kings. But I kind of understand it for him. He should kind of want the Kings to all be in jury because then it's probably votes for him.
Whether the teams are still a thing, you still, for the sake of your game and keeping people in your good graces or keeping yourself in their good graces, you still act like you're a part of a team.
But it's only good if it doesn't grow his target too, along with the rest of the Kings.
But I'm blown away. This is the second season in a row where not even pointing out that it is the big black man in the game, speaking of Tyshawn, but one of the biggest guys in the house who can absolutely dominate competitions has not seen the block. And I'm loving it. It shows how good of a game he is actually playing to not even being considered a target at this point.
Not dominating competitions though. He only won one.
I know, but he can.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Deshaun, who
Yeah.
pulled up late in the game. But I think it is kind of crazy that I feel like from all the guys, he's the name that comes out the least. I feel like even Derek F's name comes out over him. So I guess he does have that going for him, unless Claire wins HOH, I guess.
I'm loving it, and I'm gonna talk him up like I did Tyshawn last season, even though everybody, at least the Reddit universe, who did not care for Ty and said that he was playing a crap game.
Well, they said the same about Kiefer too.
I'm gonna defend Xavier and say the same thing, that he's playing a brilliant game and doing an excellent job, and he could absolutely get to the end and pull the same thing that Ty did, and I want to see it happen.
Where does Reddit stand on Xavier?
You know what? I haven't even looked at Reddit in like the past 3 weeks. I've been busy with other stuff, occupied. So,
Reddit talks about him that much.
Huh?
I don't even think his name comes up on Reddit that much.
No.
Even the fans don't notice.
Yeah. Well, he's doing something right, and he definitely is the only player so far, I guess, other than maybe Ozza, who I see actually has jury management. Well, any final thoughts?
Getting juicy.
Let's have a really, really, really messy week. I'm here for it.
I think we're off to it. Last time I checked Twitter, it seemed like Derek X was getting questioned by the Kings about why he put Sarah Beth up. So
I want to see Alyssa or Christian win HOH, or not HOH, win veto. Keep the noms the same, and then Derek just completely screw up the rest of his HOH.
What?
Meg doesn't want that.
No. Get out of here. We're not even in the same universe, let alone watching the same show.
I'm rooting for chaos.
You always root for chaos.
I think we already have some chaos because I don't think Derek X is playing this very well, but we'll see what comes of it. We'll see if noms stay the same or if it's. I mean, it's weird because I feel like it's actually better for Derek X if Sarah Beth goes, but now he's fucked up. So like he needs this to work. He needs Christian to go. Well, that's all we got for now. We will see everybody next week.